Now, there are two main approaches that have been taken to meet the challenges of cross-cultural intelligence assessment. One is to choose reasoning problems that are not tied to the knowledge base of any culture, but that reflect the ability to process and evaluate stimulus patterns. The Raven's progressive matrix has often been used to measure fluid intelligence. As a consequence of this, psychologists have attempted to develop a variety of culture fair tests, which consist of abstract reasoning items that don't depend on language. These tests are presumed to be less influenced by cultural differences than standard IQ tests. As I said before, one of the best known culture fair tests is Raven's progressive matrices, used in the UK as a measure of intelligence. In Raven's progressive matrices, which is a non-verbal task, the examinee needs to pick out the final geometrical pattern in a sequence. The matrices are progressive because they start off easy and become increasingly difficult. Each Raven test has the same format, a 3x3 matrix in which the bottom right entry is missing and must be selected from 8 alternatives. Solving Raven's matrices type problems essentially requires figuring out the underlying rules that explain the progression of shapes. Here's an example to try to figure it out. How did you go with that? The correct answer is 5. The variations of the entries in the rows and columns of this problem can be explained by 3 rules. First, each row contains 3 shapes, a triangle, square, or diamond. Second, each row has 3 bars, black, striped, clear. Third, the orientation of each bar is the same within a row, but varies from row to row, vertical, horizontal, diagonal. From these 3 rules, the answer can be inferred, which was 5. What about this? The correct answer is 3. The number of black squares in each entry increases in the top row from 1 to 2 to 3. Similarly, the number of black squares in the first column decreases from 3 to 2 to 1. What about this figure? The correct answer is 5. Each figure element, horizontal line, vertical line, or V-shape, occurs 2 times in each row. The Raven test has been used in many cultures and measures general mental capacity, and is also measured by traditional intelligence tests in our culture. Scores on the Raven correlate positively with measures of IQ derived from traditional tests, yet they seem to be more culturally fair. A second, more challenging approach is to create measures that are tailored to the kinds of knowledge and skills that are valued in a particular culture. Such tests measure how smart an individual is in terms of the practical skills and adaptive behaviours within that culture. The scores in these types of tests may be unrelated or even negatively correlated with other traditional measures of intelligence, yet they may predict successful functioning within that culture. A question does arise, though. If intelligence is defined as the ability to engage in culture, especially culture-specific adaptive behaviour, then who's to say that the culture-specific measure is not a valid measure of intelligence in that context? So, as a summary, let's think about assessment and its role in society. The goal of psychological assessment is to make as accurate assessments as possible. This is a controversial area for psychology, especially in some areas such as intelligence. 3 ethical concerns are raised. Firstly, the fairness of test-based decisions. Secondly, the utility of tests for evaluating education. And third, the implications of using test scores to categorise people.